had indicated we would be hearing this on September 28th, which is our next hearing date. So, so it's, I mean, so that'll be placed on the agenda for the September 28th hearing date. We don't need to do that by motion as it's an enforcement order. All right. Moving on to the second item on tonight's agenda is request for determination of applicability and enforcement order, Lassiter Masonry. The location is 76 Magnolia Street. All right, so they have filed for an NOI from,
Yes.
but made the submittal deadline for September 28th.
Yes.
Okay. So the question then is, I don't think anyone's here for this tonight. Do we even want to take this up? My suggestion is that we continue all these matters to September 28th. The primary issue, at least for me, was nothing was happening. And now something is happening. They have an engineer. They've actually submitted plans. Engineered plans and whatnot. So at least as far as the enforcement order goes, something's happening. And that's a good thing. I would anticipate they'll probably withdraw their RDA and proceed on the NOI. So, but we can take that up. We can take that up on the 28th. So since there is an open RDA, do I have a motion to continue? Had they requested it? Did they specifically request a continuance on the RDA?
Yes, the engineer wanted to come in with the full notice of intent.
All right, okay. Because I mean, if they didn't, then I would take that as an implied request to continue since they did file an NOI. So, so do I have a motion to continue to September 28th?
I move to continue this to the 28th.
By Commissioner Toner, seconded by
Aye.
Commissioner Lovely. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. So the RDA and consequently the enforcement order will be continued to the 28th. All right. Tonight's third item is an enforcement order. Antonio Viola, violation location is 81 Delaware Avenue, and it's depositing 2 large piles of gravel and other fill subject to the following resource areas: land subject to flooding within the 100-foot wetlands buffer zone and within 25 feet of the Clay Pit Brook. The CO was ratified by the Commission on July 13th of this year. Christine, what has been going on the property? Has any work?
No, it's in the same condition as it was the last time we met, when originally it was the gravel piles and then it was flattened out. There's been no change to the site. I haven't been out. I was there Saturday, so since this past Saturday.
Yes, sir. I'm assuming you're Attorney O'Connor. Yes. Okay. If you could identify yourself for the record, please.
Yes, Mark O'Connor. I have an office at 1501 Main Street, Unit 26, Tewksbury, and I am here representing Antonio Viola. Mr. Viola expresses his regret. He works second shift at Suffolk University in the maintenance department, and they have more or less a blackout period for the first couple months of the school year when he doesn't have much freedom to miss work.
All right. Well, that's fine. You're here.
Yes.
So what's, I mean, we left it with Mr. Viola. Oh, boy. It's got a good solid month ago now that he was going to remove the piles, and it was, he understood very clearly how time-sensitive this was. Luckily, we've had not a tremendous amount of rain, but the Pawtucketville area, and specifically this area, is a critical area for flooding. It's been under several feet of water numerous times over the years, and this commission takes any fill brought into this neighborhood very seriously, as does the DEP, by the way. So we are in receipt of your letter asking that it be treated as a de minimis incursion into the floodplain. I, for one, would say no, it's not, just given the nature of this watershed. The Clay Pit Brook has been prone to severe flooding because of, and I'm going to go even much smaller, very minor fills brought in through the year, and now the situation really is untenable. The stretch of this neighborhood floods on a regular basis. It's only getting worse. The neighbors who have lived there for decades and decades are just suffering the results. Their property values have decreased because of water coming into basements that had never done that before, and it's getting to the tipping point where neighbors in the neighborhood association is getting to be very vigilant about anything that's brought into the neighborhood. Just to give you an example, we had a project a good probably 2 years ago where it was a couple of chain link fence poles that we treated as de minimis. It was less than a wheelbarrow full, and the DEP issued a superseding order on their own, sua sponte, on that, and reversed our allowance of that, and that was a couple of cubic feet of fill. This is much more than that, okay?
Yes, Mr. Viola is not, as your records reflect, not a resident of Lowell and doesn't have the familiarity with the history of the area. So that's unfortunate and might have led to his initial, depositing of the materials there. He did have a larger goal in mind, which was to utilize the lot to try to bring in a fabricated metal shed to be erected there and use it for storage of lawn equipment, tools, things like that. He has not been inactive over the last couple months since he received the enforcement order. He had been searching for and recently did engage an engineer, Steve Erickson from Norse Environmental Services. And I spoke with Steve a couple times in the last couple days, and he was at the property. And the hope was to try to take some steps and actually, make it a situation where something could be done. Most recently, though, to be very frank, today, actually, Mr. Steve indicated that his latest investigation into the flood elevations indicated that it may well be unlikely that anything can be done there on Mr. Viola's behalf. So I'm appearing tonight just to explain that Mr. Viola was not ignoring the commission. He did have some goal in mind and he was pursuing it. We'd like just an additional short period of time in which to either close the loop completely in terms of whether something can be done to get in other words, a definitive word from the engineer, or he'll have to remove the fill as ordered.
All right. I guess I'm not understanding you. I'm not inclined to give more time for the engineer to decide what to do. The order was to remove the two loads of fill that were brought on site. I don't understand the problem. It's a very old established site. It was, from what I understand, very compacted, and the material that was brought on was sort of loosely spread, so it would be very easy to scrape down to the existing topography or the pre-existing topography to remove the fill that was placed on site. I, for one, am not inclined to allow more time for the engineer to determine some sort of plan. I want the fill gone. It should have been gone a month ago. And here we are, we're still at this point where it's still there, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah, I would just ask the commission to recognize that it's not an unnatural response for someone in Mr. Viola's position to try to find some legal mechanism, and finally he engaged a professional to help him do it, to find some way to make this property useful to him.
I appreciate that. That's not what we're here for. We're here because his property is entirely within the floodplain. There is no place on his property where he can provide compensation for what was brought in. He brought in 2 loads of fill, 2 rather large loads of fill. That has to be removed. The alternative is that the commission will start to consider daily fines. And those run at $300 a day until the situation is remediated. I don't know what the commission's going to do tonight. He has representation here tonight, and we're ready to go forward. The order has already been made. We're not going to revisit the order and say, okay, no, the fill can stay. We've already made that determination. Okay, that's already happened. It happened after a hearing. Mr. Viola was here. We're not going back to revisit that and say, oh, okay, maybe we can do something else. No, I'm not even going to entertain a motion to do that. Okay, I want to know when the fill's going to be taken off the site.
Well, my request had been to just stay the enforcement for a further period of time. I understand you're indicating you're not inclined to do that, but that is our request, to stay it for a short period of time. As I say, just to reach a final conclusion whether there might be some mechanism to make something work there. And if not, then understood that it has to be removed.
Okay, let me just be really crystal clear here. There is nothing that this commission could do to allow any fill to be brought on that site. It can't be done. Okay, he's entirely within the floodplain. Okay, the only way he can bring fill on is to take fill off and just to replace it in kind. That's the only way he can do that, and he didn't do that. Okay, this isn't a situation where he can carve, an embankment that's on his property that's above the floodplain and provide compensation for what he's bringing in. He doesn't have that luxury on this property. As an aside, you alluded to a metal storage shed. This property is also within the floodway of the Clay Pit Brook, and the regulations don't allow particular structures to be placed in the floodway, and particularly temporary metal-type sheds are not allowed because they're subject to horizontal velocity, and they float away and cause property damage. So that under the regulations, we can't even approve them. Even if you want it, even if you came and applied for it, we couldn't approve it, even if we wanted to. Okay, the regulations don't allow for it. So we got to cross the first bridge first, and that's the fill's got to come off the site. And really, it's got to come off by the weekend or next week at the latest. Like I said, it should have been off a month ago. And here we are, this was, the hearing was on August 10th, and here we are, September 14th.
I understand your position.
Commissioner Barnum, I don't have anything else.
This is just crystal clear, and we made it clear to Mr. Viola when he was here. There's nothing more simple than the fact you've got to get a piece of equipment and a truck in there and get that fill out of there. Like the chairman says, there's no way that any fill is going to be allowed there. What are we waiting for? And I'm willing tonight to set a deadline and make a motion to institute fines, daily fines, if that fill isn't gone within the next 10 days.
Not going to really have anything further to say other than I acknowledge that your letter was dated August 16th, so certainly that was shortly after we had the meeting and put in the enforcement order. So I guess I'm somewhat sympathetic that there's probably been some back and forth discussions on what can be done, but as the chairman said, I think it's pretty clear, black and white, that there really isn't much that can be done other than removing the material. And then obviously if you talk about development of the property at a later point in time, that would have to be done, in compliance with the Wetlands Protection Act, and you do have some significant limitations given that the property is entirely within the floodplain. And I would share Commissioner Varnum's position that I think we're at the point where, we need a date certain to have that material removed, and if it's not removed by then, to start issuing daily fines. And I, for one, would be open to maybe having it taken care of by the next meeting. So if this is on the agenda for the next meeting, because it hasn't been addressed, I certainly think, fines at that point should be instituted if they haven't been already.
Commissioner Toner?
They pretty much summed it all up. The fill has to go. I don't think there's any other way about it. But I agree with the chairman on the weekend, but if we want to give us a longer deadline, that's fine. I feel like there's been plenty of time to get it out of there.
I mean, it's, Attorney O'Connor, it's neither here nor there, but as far as this floodplain issue goes in the city of Lowell, this is a critical area. It's an area that the residents of these neighborhoods, and specifically this particular neighborhood, have seen tremendous loss, and very recently. I mean, we don't have to go back 100 years, we don't have to go back 50 years. We only have to go back a couple of years, okay? And it's happening with ever-increasing frequency. So we as a commission have not allowed fill like that to exist on properties for much more than a couple of days. And we're going over a month now.
Something else I'll just bring up for your benefit, not being from Lowell and being familiar with the issue. As the chair said, I mean, there are a number of times that the local Citizens Commission will attend these meetings. They're very familiar with what's required under the Wetlands Protection Act and are very observant to what goes on within their neighborhood. So let's put it this way. If we were to, make an exception, I would not be surprised if we would hear from them, both directly and indirectly.
Certainly, it would be appealed. I mean, I'll tell you that right now. I can't, they've appealed much smaller allowances of use of the resources out there.
Okay.
But right now, I want to get a sense from you when we can get, boots on the ground, a piece of equipment out there to take this material off the site.
Well, if I can take Mr. Lovely's thought as to the next meeting, as the final deadline, that the materials would be removed by that time.
All right, so we're here September 14th. What I would like, I suppose, is this will come up on the, will you be back on the 28th?
If, hopefully it won't be necessary, and, I could just report, I assume, to Ms. McCall that,
I mean, I'm reluctant to even let it go that far. I mean, that's the next time we're meeting. I mean, to me, this should have been gone, as I said, a month ago, but that, as Mr. Viola said he was going to take it out by the weekend the last time we met, and as I said, now we're a month later and it's still there. Let's be real about this. I mean, I want it out by this weekend. That's probably not possible. I don't know. I don't know what connections Mr. Viola has as far as getting any equipment on that site to do that. It's certainly not going to take a lot, but
I don't know those details either.
I really want it gone by next Wednesday. I don't want this. This isn't a situation where we're just going to revisit it on the 28th. This is a situation where if we get a significant rain event, we're in hurricane season right now. If we get a significant rain event, this is just fill that's placed in this resource area that's now taking up flood storage volume. We can't predict, when these incidents happen. The Mother's Day flood of last decade was a non-predicted event, and it turned into one of the most serious recent disasters in the city's history. Followed up shortly thereafter with another one that was equally as bad. So to me, I want it gone by the weekend. Commissioner Lovely is indicating by the next meeting, but I'd like to get a sense for when this is gone. I for one, don't want to wait that long. I want to know by the end of next week that it's been done.
Can I ask what the fill is there for? Because he's not gonna be putting it in the yard, right?
I'm sorry?
What is the fill there for? Is it just for storage? Is he planning to put it in the yard?
Why is the fill there? Well, it was given his thought of trying to establish a base for the structure that I mentioned.
Which he wouldn't be able to do anyway because it's in the floodplain. So, it would be expensive to store somewhere else.
we don't, it's not that the property's unusable, it is, but any development has to take place pursuant to the act. And certainly bringing in a couple of dump truck fulls of fill, that's uncompensated for is not one, but as I'm alluding to, generally floatable, metal storage sheds are the type of structure that the regulations don't permit. It's not that it's a flood plain, this is also a floodway. Okay, so it's another level of jurisdiction. It's a special designation. You can put these temporary storage structures in flood plains. You cannot put them in floodways. Okay, so it's a little bit of a difference there. So, and as far as I'm aware, this is floodway. It may not be. I'm not saying absolutely that it is, but I'm pretty sure that it is. So, just given where this property is in relation to the Clay Pit Brook. So, I want to get a sense for when.
I think 2 weeks is a little long, considering we waited as long as we have. It only took him 2 weeks after he bought the property to put the fill there, so it's been sitting there quite a while. I would think by a week from Friday, that would be, excuse me, approximately 10 days, which is what I said originally, I believe.
That seems like a fair compromise, so I think that we'd be talking about close of business on Friday, September 23rd. That seems fair to me.
And I certainly, I don't think we need to wait till the next meeting to institute fines either.
No, I would agree.
If that becomes, I'd make a motion that if the fill isn't gone by the 23rd, that as of Monday the following, we institute fines for each day the fill remains.
And I would add that to contact our environmental agent, Christine here at the City of Lowell, when that's planned, so we can confirm that the material's been removed on that day.
I'd also like to add, I'm not sure it needs to go in the motion, but I will put it in the motion that after the removal of the fill, that the underlying material, the property that was originally there, if necessary, should be smoothed out and reloamed and seeded, returned to its original condition. I don't want to see a huge unkempt-looking place with equipment tracks and places where water can collect and things like that, or a place where erosion can still occur because the ground hasn't been stabilized. So it should be returned to its original condition is what I'm trying to say, which was, I believe, a grassed lot.
All right, so I have a motion that the gravel fill that was brought on site be removed by next Friday by close of business. So that would be once City Hall closes at 12, but on Fridays, but by 5 o'clock on the 23rd of September, that you contact either Christine McCall or Sean Machado, who's the who is our agent, when that is going to be done, so we can have someone out there just to verify that the work has been completed. And was it, and to stabilize the site afterwards. That doesn't have to be done by Friday. Okay, but it should be done by that work should be done by the following meeting, though. The final thing, it was a part of your motion that provided it's not, then we'll consider
Yes.
the accrual of conservation fine of $300 a day, starting on that following Monday, if the work is not done.
And I will second that.
Motion by Commissioner Varnum, seconded by Commissioner Lovely. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. Chair is yes. All right.
Thank you for your time.
Just stay in touch with the office and just let us know when you're going to be out there to do the work so they can verify it. Okay?
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Matt, who are you here for? You're here for,
NAI Hanneman,
huh?
NAI, 1230 Bridge Street.
Yeah, we have one before you.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
That's why I didn't enter.
No, come on, you made it through traffic, so. Tonight's fourth item is a request for determination of applicability, Fairhaven Healthcare Center, Project location is 476 Varnum Avenue, and it's resurface of a deteriorated section of the parking area located in land subject to flooding, 100-foot buffer zone, and adjacent to the Clay Pit Brook.
Good evening. The client can't be here tonight, but I'm certainly acting on his behalf, Fairhaven Nursing Home. Again, we are just proposing to resurface a portion of the parking area to the rear in the vicinity of Clay Pit Brook. It will be a reclamation process where we will replace the mix to the existing grade as it is today, and we will not be expanding the footprint of the parking area.
Here, do you need to? All right, so you're not increasing any impervious?
We're not.
Are you doing that, what do they call that, that reclamation type
Yes.
cold, what do they call that?
Well, we're going to attempt to reclaim the mix there, but it may have to be replaced entirely. But we are going to,
Okay, so our big thing, as you know, with repaving projects is to match or be below the prior grades. And obviously for a large parking area, unless you're making improvements to the flow patterns and stuff like that,
Right.
you try and match the existing grades, right?
Right.
So that's our key, is to make sure that you have enough random shots, or in your
sure.
professional engineering opinion where they should be, and so the grades that you establish before are matched on the as-built, so.
We'll set benchmarks, however, you know, whoever's inspecting, however the inspectional team prefers, we can set them any way they like.
All right.
So we do
I
have-
know some of the commissioners have other issues, but to me, that's the big one. You know, obviously, best management practices to protect the Clay Pit Brook resource from any, you know, dust and debris as part of the repaving process. Do you know how long it's going to take to do this?
I'm not sure. I think they're attempting to do it in the course of a weekend,
Okay.
considering the traffic that they have through the week there.
Going to be planning on doing this for the fall?
Yes.
All right. I don't have any further questions. Commissioner Barnum?
I have a number of questions. I only had a small-size plan, so some of these may have been answered by looking at the full-size plan here, but,
Ms. Farnham, I have a full size if you'd like here.
well, I'm looking at
Okay.
Christine's right now,
All
thank
right.
you. I noticed there was a wetland flag line in the back, but you don't have it on your plan.
Right.
Who did that delineation?
We did not have this delineated. We had riverfront flags delineated, but we did not locate them, realizing that we're certainly in the buffer zone and in proximity to the riverfront.
Well, one of the reasons I was looking for that is that I'm having difficulty matching up what's out on the site with what I see on the plan as far as distances from the edge of the brook. And I did have a kind of a problem with, now that I know it's riverfront, maybe some of that. So that was a riverfront line, not a wetland line. Is that what you're saying? Those blue flags?
Yes.
Okay. You have a straw wattle line here that's beyond the presently surfaced area, which you have said you don't intend to expand upon. Is that
Correct.
But at the present time, the hay bales that are out there and the silt fence are right on the edge of the paved area. And just beyond that are either trees or large rocks, which you don't have illustrated here. I understand why, but I don't see how you could possibly put your straw wattle line where you have it indicated on this plan.
Well, I haven't been out there in quite some time. The plan was submitted to engineering quite a few months ago. But we can certainly put that straw wattle wherever it's practicable.
Well, there is a silt fence and hay bale line out there now, but it's in tremendously bad repair. And your proposed infiltration fence seems to be right where that hay bale line is. I just don't see the spacing of how you're going to move these things back any.
Okay, we'll certainly take that under advisement, and we can revise the plan accordingly.
I'm also having trouble without that edge of wetland, or edge of riverbank line there. I'm having trouble seeing that you have 1 inch equals 50 feet on this. I'm not seeing the 50 feet between the edge of that parking and it might be 25 feet.
Between the edge of the parking and
And the edge of the
brook?
brook. There is a row of huge boulders that have been put along there, but some of the cars are parked practically up to with their noses on the boulders.
Again, that's an approximate line, Ms. Farnham. we realize that we're in the buffer zone here, and we've indicated through elevation, an elevation survey, that a portion of the property is certainly in the flood zone. We don't have any, I don't know what a specific location of the brook would yield for this proposal. We realize we're obviously very in close proximity to this brook.
Well, I'm getting towards my real concern here, which is that digging down 3 feet and putting a 4-foot wide infiltration fence in that area is going to impact a lot of the roots of the trees along the brook. And in my mind, tree roots are much better than an infiltration fence in holding everything together. And I believe that that's going to adversely impact the trees along that brook edge. It is a lot closer, and this is why it's relevant. It is a lot closer to the brook. And the trees are a lot closer to that indicated line where you indicate the infiltration fence is going.
The plan here shows that there's an existing edge of pavement, and that's where we're proposing the trench.
Yes.
So,
But this is a 4-foot wide trench, so you're going 4 feet even closer to the brook.
no.
Well,
No,
if
it's not.
you can't possibly lose any space off of the parking space because you can barely drive through there now.
No, it's proposed to meet the edge of the existing edge of the pavement, not to certainly not to exceed it.
So people will be parking on top of the infiltration trench?
I don't know what the proposed new traffic plan is going to be, but I would imagine not. I would imagine that they would kick those spaces back.
Excuse me, but I just need to understand this. You're saying that the edge of pavement now, the infiltration trench will not go beyond the edge of pavement that's there now?
Correct.
So you're losing 4 feet, unless the cars are going to park on top of this, you're losing 4 feet off of each parking space along the brook.
I don't know that those are legally sized parking spaces anyway in the back there. I don't know that.
That has nothing to do with whether or not you're losing space off of them.
Okay.
I guess I'm of the opinion that an infiltration fence, trench, I'm sorry, I keep calling it a fence, an infiltration trench that's only going to take care of 22% of the stormwater maybe is going to do more harm than good. And perhaps downsizing that trench a bit might be an idea that I would look more favorably upon. I
Sure.
just think it's a very large incursion in a very sensitive area. I'm of the opinion also that if you dig down 3 feet, you're probably going to hit water. And so it's useless to make a trench of that size if it's already underwater once you get down to that level.
Right.
In the middle of the present line that we're talking about, there was an area that had crushed stone from the last attempt to pave the parking lot about a year ago. And the crushed stone we required to be removed. Well, that particular area, they apparently removed the crushed stone but didn't fill it back in or filled it with material that was so loose that it's now a huge washout. Even the hay bales got washed away underneath the silt fence. And a lot of this material has ended up down in the brook bed. So that particular point right there is an area of concern that I think would need some attention as far as designing perhaps a little bit of riprap to go in there or somehow, I don't know, putting a head wall or something that would keep, that force of that water from being able to wash out. There's a washout maybe a foot deep that's made a trench
Yeah,
all the way to the
I
brook.
recall it.
It's right about here. So I think that's probably the low point of the parking lot. There, along the silt fence area, some of it behind, some of it in front, there's a tremendous amount of sand that apparently was pushed there from sanding and then replowing the parking area. And that's something should be removed from the site.
Okay.
There's quite a bit of trash down in there. I'm sure not all of it is the fault of the nursing home, but certainly some of it could be cleaned up in the course of doing work in that area.
Okay.
And the last thing that the city engineer also talked about, I'm sure you've seen her letter probably, was the dumpster location. I'm sympathetic that there's very little spot out there for a dumpster. It's just incredibly tight. In order for the truck to empty it, it has to have some kind of a straight run in there.
Right.
But on the other hand,
the client is willing to
dumpsters in floodplains and floodways are bad news, too.
The client is certainly accommodating to moving that out of the floodplain and up the sort of left-hand portion, if you will, of the property, where there's some parking spaces, and he's planning on reconfiguring his parking spaces over in that area
And
to
where
accommodate
would-
such a
Where
move.
would the dumpsters be located?
Not really certain. He doesn't want to get it too close to the garage, so we're thinking of pushing it up just over that floodplain elevation, in the direction of the garage, on that left-hand portion of the existing edge of pavement. Taking out a couple of spots there, a couple of parking spots there.
Well, that's my feelings about it. I'm willing to make a motion of some sort at some point, but I'll see what everybody else thinks.
Yeah, just a second, Commissioner Lovely. What I would suggest is, and to me at least, if it's a repave in place, and we're looking at the footprint, but now that Commissioner Varnum has raised the issue about this infiltration trench, and I see it, I mean, I can't tell if it's within the existing footprint or not, but what I would suggest, and I note that the plan that's been submitted has no measurements on it, has elevations, but it doesn't have measurements, and perhaps, perhaps giving some distances of the existing pavement to, in reference to the corners of the building.
Sure.
Would be a good idea, because that'll place the existing footprint, and so we'll know that the infiltration trench, and the contractor and the Fairhaven people will know that the infiltration trench has to go within the existing footprint.
Right.
Have you done test pits out there to see where the groundwater is?
We have not.
Okay, so I agree with Commissioner Varnum's characterization. You may not be able to go down all that far before you start hitting groundwater there. And keep in mind that the state is currently under drought warning. So you can't take the existing conditions. You have to find some datum during normal conditions in order to establish that. It's not enough just to do a test pit now. We couldn't accept it, and you wouldn't be allowed to submit that, okay? Because of the current law. So. Yeah, I'm looking at an older plan from 2000, and it has the Clay Pit Brook, actually, the waterway itself set a little bit further back than what's showing on the plan, but it's hard to tell because there's no there's no distances listed on that one either. And I don't know if it's drawn to scale or not.
What actually happened out there illegally is there was a whole new swath of pavement put along the brook. The people used to park on a grassed area, and all of a sudden, one day, it was a paved area. So that would not have shown up on earlier plans. So there's another 10 or 12 feet of pavement out there that probably isn't on any plan.
Yeah, and the dumpster pad, again, dumpsters are one of those structures that aren't allowed in floodways. So that definitely can't go there. Commissioner Lovely?
The only thing I'll add is, to me it appears, I look at the old map and from what Commissioner Varnon characterized in the new figure, the infiltration trench obviously is intended to, reduce the amount of sheet flow going over into Clay Pit Brook. And I did notice in some historic notes, because it looks like there was a proposal for this property to have an addition done at some point in the past, and it wasn't done. And one of the things that was mentioned was there was, the area between Clay Pit Brook and the southern portion of the parking lot, there was some gulling of water and an erosion. And so my sense is, that infiltration trench is probably meant to try and reduce that amount of sheet flow. That being said, I share Commissioner Varnum's observation that obviously, you'd be near Clay Pit Brook in the floodplain, there's probably not much storage above the water table to begin with, and
Right.
anything you would observe now would probably be artificially lower than what it would normally be historically. But I do think it's, aside from obviously staying within the footprint, anything that can be done to improve, the flow to Clay Pit Brook from, the parking lot would be advantageous. And then I also would agree with Commissioner Varnum that if there is quite a bit of trash and debris out there, while it's possible that's not the, responsibility of the landowner, while they're out there, it wouldn't be too difficult, I think, to have a contractor address some of the larger pieces of debris that might be there for the purpose of improving
Sure.
the quality of Clay Pit Brook. Thank you.
Commissioner Toner?
No further comments.
All right, so I think what we need to do is continue this to the 28th and to address the issues that were brought up tonight. You're here on an RDA, so my sense is that as it stands now, we don't have enough information, and you don't want a positive determination. So let's address the issues that have been raised tonight. If you need more time than the 28th, then just let the, for the submittal deadline is next Wednesday, so just let Christine know, and it can be put on a later date. But I know that you want to get this done, before the batch plants close, if you even need them. But I know they do stuff in the middle of February now, so,
Right.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thanks. So let's motion to continue at the request of the proponent till September 28th by
Move to continue.
Commissioner Varnum, seconded
Seconded.
by Commissioner Toner. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. All right, thanks. Next item on tonight's agenda is also a request for determination of applicability. NAI Hunneman. Project location is 1230 Bridge Street, and it's proposed to reclaim and repave an existing parking lot within the 100-foot buffer zone.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Matt Hammer with Lamplex Engineering and Surveying, located down at 11 Kearney Square in Lowell. I'm here representing NAI Hunneman for the property, who's the property manager for 1230 Bridge Street. And essentially, before I got started with the filing, I had met with the city engineer to go over the existing conditions of the property. Right now, there's an existing medical building, sidewalks around the building, a paved parking area. There's 2 catch basins on the property. Those systems go into a detention basin area, which is located right here. And there's a bordering vegetative wetland here. I discussed the repaving that we want to do, which is simply to repave the existing parking area. Because normally when we do this, we'll check with the engineering department if they want to implement any additional stormwater controls as part of the repaving. So we went and spoke with Lisa DeMayo. She said that she would not be imposing any additional controls onto this project. And then I went to the Conservation Department, discussed doing a request for determination of applicability for simply the repaving. And what we did is we created an erosion and sedimentation control plan, essentially to show the straw wattle located around the perimeter here, as well as catch basin inlet protection for the activities during construction, as well as to do a construction entrance at the entrance of the project, so that no sediment would migrate onto the existing roadway out onto Bridge Street. And our anticipation is that the construction will last approximately 3 to 4 days. We have existing medical tenants, and we want to make sure that when we do the repaving, that the existing business is not, shut down for any reason. So we're in the process of doing a phasing plan, but essentially I think what we're going to do is do the rear of the property, get that all the way, back to binder, then go out and do the front, because there's a rear access door which is handicap accessible in the rear, so that all the people in the building can access the same foyer from the rear. And then go out front, do the binder in the front, and then come in and do the full top coat. We'll also be staking out the perimeter of the parking area with spot grades, so that they can put the parking area back to the original grading that's there now. Yes, there will be some minor catch basin maintenance when they rip up the pavement, to make sure that there's no seepage coming in the existing catch basins. Put a new catch basin brick rim around the catch basin, and just do normal maintenance that they would do to those drainage controls. I can say that existing drainage system adjacent to the parking area has been recently cleaned up. They mowed it a few weeks ago. The engineers department was very happy that they were in, and they've been actively maintaining the facility, the existing stormwater controls to date. A new management company, which is the Hunneman Group, have come in, and the property has improved from, I guess, from historically what was there before. So I had that discussion as well with Lisa DeMayo about that.
That was going to be my first question. So is that, I mean, that's that area to the north was a culvert, I don't know if it's still functioning as a culvert. It has a connection underneath Bridge Street. And
Yeah, there's water traveling through that culvert. There's some city drainage still going into that basin. But the basin is still functioning, in my mind, as a detention/retention basin.
Right.
So we're getting the water quality there that exists. They're maintaining the system, which I don't know the history, to tell you the truth, of the entire property. But, you know, when you go out there and look at the property, it's, there's very little trash at all that I guess historically was in that area. It's my understanding that there was even a building on the other side.
There was a house there, yeah.
There was a house there, so that's gone. They mowed it, they cleaned it up. They want it to look nice for the tenants. And in my mind, you know, they're repaving it and improving the drainage that way. So in my mind, it's gonna be a complete improvement from maybe historically what's there. I don't tend to, I drive by there all the time, but I can't really honestly tell you the history of that property. It's relatively flat out in the area. It does slope up a little bit in the back, but it's not a challenging site to repave to what's there now.
All right, so what is the condition of the embankment in the back towards the brook, off the back of the,
It's vegetated embankment.
is it stable?
It's stable. The grade comes up, you know, a half a foot from the curb line, which we are going to be replacing the curbing. And then it comes up even more from the edge of the parking area, and then it just slopes back down to a very defined wetland in the rear. I think the wetland's even down maybe 4 or 5 feet from the top of that berm.
Yeah, it's a fairly sizable. The reason I asked is Drake had done some extensive work on the culvert as it goes up. I guess it goes into a culvert going into Drake it.
Yep.
So, and they had been doing some very extensive work, so I was just, you know, because it outlets a couple of 100 yards away from there, so I was just wondering the condition of the embankment there, because there's been a lot of development on that side over the last decade and a half or so, so.
Yeah, the sewer manhole that was installed
Yeah,
there. But no, there's a path that goes up in the back, that goes up into a neighborhood.
on the other side. Yeah,
A shortcut to go over to the shopping plaza. Is basically what they're doing there.
Right.
But the path is just a footpath that, to me, has probably been there for ages.
Perhaps you already answered this and I just didn't hear it. When are you planning on doing this work?
Right away. We like to do this work in about 2 or 3 weeks.
And you're anticipating about how long?
I'm figuring that the paving company's gonna do 2 mobilizations. One to do the rear. I figure that'll take a day to 2, because they're gonna relay that asphalt, take down whatever's, you know, additional. Usually you end up with some additional asphalt, so they'll take that off-site and then repave that next day. We're gonna, I believe we're gonna use like a cheaper paint to temporarily restripe the rear area, just because there's gonna be a couple days, and you just gotta have some sort of demarcation for folks to park. Maybe they can do it with dots on the parking to restripe. We're just getting into that discussion now. All the paving equipment will leave. Maybe they'll be able to stage some of it in this back corner up here. Then once there's full, safe access to the rear, then they'll go in and do the front. That'll be a couple days there. And then I figure probably another day, maybe 2, to do the final top coat, and then another day to do the restriping.
I have nothing further. Commissioner Barnum?
So I would say 6 days would be reasonable.
Okay.
Is there any other material besides the asphalt that's going to be needed? It seems like it's a little wavy out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the parking lot's 30 or 40 years old. So What happens when they reclaim that all out, they'll look at the existing material underneath. If some of it needs to be scratched out and they need to bring in a little bit of processed material to replace that, then they'll have to do that. But it's all gonna be recompacted, and then re-asphalted. And the nice thing about when you do the reclaiming, you're putting 3 inches of paving over existing reclaimed asphalt on top, so it becomes a much more stabilized subgrade when you do that. But that's what happens to pavement over 30, 40 years.
So, but generally, you want it to be the same elevation as is there now?
Generally, yes, but it's gonna be all leveled off and positively, if there's any rippling that's there now, that'll all be flat when they're done. And we're not in a floodplain.
Commissioner Lovely?
Nothing to add other than, this to me looks like it's a good candidate for a -3 determination.
Commissioner Toner?
I agree with Commissioner Lovely.
Anything further from the city, Christine?
No.
All right, do I have a motion? I agree with Commissioner Lovely. Do I have a motion for a -3?
So I'll proceed then and offer a motion to issue a -3 determination for this project.
Second it?
Seconded by Commissioner Toner, motion by Commissioner Lovely. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, the ayes have it. All right,
Thank you very much.
thank you. And the last item on tonight's agenda is a notice of intent. Rafael Pellegrino, project location is 1857 Middlesex Street, and they're proposing to convert the existing warehouse into a school with parking at 1857.1 Middlesex Street. The proposed work will be conducted within the 100-foot buffer to avoid bordering vegetated wetland and within an isolated land subject to flooding. The original order of conditions for this project expired in January of 2016, so this original project, I believe, was approved in January of 2013. For some reason or another, the landowner, school, whatnot, didn't renew their project, didn't renew their order, and it wasn't just ours. I guess there was several of them that they let go. Unfortunately, we had requested they come in. This was on tonight's agenda, but we had requested they come in on the 28th in anticipation of not having a quorum. I am likewise recusing myself on this matter. So they'll be have agreed to the 28th. So I mean, not to belabor the point. From what I understand, a lot of our jurisdictional work has been completed, but they still need to tidy up a couple of issues. So do I have a motion to continue to September 28th?
Motion to continue.
I'll second.
By Commissioner Varnum, seconded by Commissioner Lovely. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the ayes have it. And do we have any other business? I noticed we had that letter from National Grid about maintenance work around their utility right-of-way. Are they requesting, or are they just
No,
telling
they were
us?
telling us.
Okay, yeah, all right. And that's it. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll offer a motion to adjourn.
By Commissioner
Seconded.
Lovely, seconded by Commissioner Toner. All in favor signify by saying aye. The
Aye.
opposed,
Aye.
the ayes have it, and good night.